Welcome back to the Cage Strum MMA with new UPDT. Today we're breaking down Ben Askren's reaction to Khamzat Chimaev's recent performance, and why Askren believes it was impressive but ultimately disappointing, following what many fans viewed as a dominant showing by Khamzat Chimaev against Strickland. Duplessis, former UFC welterweight Ben Askren, offered a more critical take. While acknowledging Chimaev's control and effectiveness, Askren made it clear he expected more urgency and aggression from the undefeated contender. Speaking in a recent interview with Helen Yee at the Real American Freestyle event, Askren explained that Chimaev appeared to fight too conservatively. From his perspective, Khamzat relied heavily on control rather than attempting to finish the fight decisively. Askren noted that while Chimaev looked strong and technically sound, he was disappointed by the lack of risk-taking. He felt Chimaev had multiple opportunities to push the pace and inflict more damage, but instead chose to play it safe, maintaining top position without actively hunting a finish. In Askren's view, dominance alone is not enough when fans and analysts expect statement performances from a fighter of Chimaev's caliber. Askren also touched on Chimaev's continued discussion about changing weight classes. It's somewhat strange given that Chimaev competed at welterweight not that long ago. He suggested that constantly moving between divisions could create unnecessary confusion, especially when there are unfinished questions within each weight class. During the same interview, Askren shifted his focus to the current state of the welterweight division and the ongoing discussion surrounding potential title challengers. He expressed frustration over the idea of former champion Kamaru Usman being positioned for another title opportunity. While Askren acknowledged Usman's historic reign and accomplishments, he emphasized that recent losses should matter when determining the next contender. According to Askren, the welterweight belt has changed hands multiple times since Usman lost it, making an immediate return to title contention harder to justify. He argued that younger fighters such as Ian Gary and Michael Morales have done enough to earn their place in the title picture. Askren stressed that merit should outweigh popularity or past achievements, even admitting that while he may not personally favor certain fighters, he believes earning a title shot should be the deciding factor. Askren concluded by criticizing favoritism in matchmaking, stating that he preferred to see fighters rewarded for current performance rather than name value. In his opinion, the future of the welterweight division belongs to the new generation, and they deserve the opportunity to prove it on the biggest stage. Joe Rogan has issued a serious warning to Jake Paul following his recent high-profile boxing match against Anthony Joshua. The bout drew massive attention, with Netflix revealing that more than 33 million people watched the fight live. The viewership numbers were staggering, especially when compared to other major boxing events, highlighting just how much mainstream appeal Jake Paul continues to generate. In the aftermath of the fight, Joe Rogan addressed Jake Paul's future in boxing during a recent episode of his podcast while speaking with comedian Tom Segura. Rather than focusing on Paul's popularity or business success, Rogan centered the conversation on the long-term consequences of staying in combat sports for too long. His message was clear: there is a price to pay, and it is not worth it. Rogan explained that the true cost of a prolonged fighting career is not financial, but physical and psychological. According to him, repeated trauma to the head can lead to severe and lasting consequences, including deep depression and significant brain imbalance. He emphasized that these neurological changes often open the door to addiction and destructive behavior later in life. Rogan pointed out that many former fighters struggle with gambling problems, substance abuse, and alcohol addiction once their careers come to an end, largely due to the damage accumulated over time. He went on to describe the concept of a limited number of impacts the human brain can endure, comparing it to a punch card with a fixed number of slots. In Rogan's view, every major hit brings a fighter closer to that limit. Referring specifically to the punch Jake Paul absorbed from Anthony Joshua, Rogan suggested that it caused substantial damage. He described it as the kind of blow that accelerates long-term neurological decline, equating it to multiple concussions happening at once. Rogan also addressed the visible physical injuries sustained during the fight, noting that when a fighter's jaw is broken in multiple places, it is not just a facial injury. He stressed that significant internal trauma occurs simultaneously inside the brain, even if it is not immediately visible. That type of damage, he warned, can have effects that linger far beyond the ring. Ultimately, Rogan's message was not meant as criticism, but as caution. He acknowledged Jake Paul's toughness and success, but urged him not to stay in boxing for too long. In Rogan's opinion, no amount of fame or money is worth sacrificing long-term mental health and quality of life. Breaking news in the world of mixed martial arts, as UFC President Dana White is officially scheduled to testify in court in connection with a new antitrust lawsuit filed against the UFC. Earlier this year in May, former UFC fighter Misha Cirkunov filed an additional antitrust lawsuit against the promotion. This lawsuit focuses on specific clauses included in UFC fighter contracts, particularly those related to arbitration requirements and class action waivers. According to the filing, Cirkunov is seeking both financial damages and a court order that would invalidate the arbitration and class action waiver clauses that are still present in current UFC contracts. The lawsuit also aims to prevent the UFC from including these provisions in any future agreements. For those unfamiliar with the issue, an arbitration clause combined with a class action waiver is a contractual provision that requires disputes to be resolved through private arbitration rather than in a public courtroom. This process allows companies to avoid traditional court proceedings and limits the ability of individuals to band together in group lawsuits. Instead, disputes must be handled on a one-on-one basis. While such clauses are common in many industries, they are highly controversial because they significantly restrict legal options for individuals and limit collective legal action. Now the case has taken a major turn. Dana White is set to testify in court on behalf of the UFC. The news was first reported by journalist John Nash, who revealed that the court has ordered a spoliation hearing to take place on February 4th and February 5th, 2026. According to the court order, Dana White will testify first, followed by Tracy Long. A spoliation hearing is a legal proceeding that examines whether relevant evidence was destroyed, altered, or improperly preserved during the course of a legal dispute. In these hearings, the court determines whether one party's actions interfered with the other party's ability to fairly present their case. The party requesting the hearing is typically asking the judge to impose sanctions if misconduct is found. Sanctions can include monetary fines, adverse jury instructions that allow jurors to assume missing evidence would have harmed the responsible party, or the removal of certain legal defenses. In extreme cases, sanctions can even result in the dismissal of claims or defenses altogether, depending on whether the actions were intentional or accidental. At this stage, it remains unclear which party is being accused of spoliation and who formally requested the hearing. However, with Dana White scheduled to testify, this lawsuit has become one of the most closely watched legal battles involving the UFC in recent years. More clarity is expected once proceedings begin in early February, and updates will follow as new information becomes available. Ilia Topuria is facing significant backlash from the MMA community after a recent video surfaced online, once again showing him appearing relaxed and active despite having announced a break from competition. The footage, which quickly gained traction on social media, features Topuria spending time with fellow UFC fighter Merab, sparking intense debate among fans. This latest clip has fueled criticism from those who believe Topuria does not appear distressed or unwell enough to justify stepping away from a fight camp. While Topuria has been open about dealing with personal issues outside the octagon, many fans seem to expect visible signs of struggle in order to validate his decision. However, personal challenges, particularly those involving family matters, do not always manifest in obvious ways. A fighter can still be mentally affected while continuing to socialize or train lightly. In the video, Topuria does not appear unhappy, and he seems to be enjoying himself alongside Dvalishvili. Despite this, a large portion of the MMA community reacted negatively, focusing on the timing of his hiatus and the fact that he is not currently scheduled to face Arman Tsarukyan. Critics flooded social media with accusations suggesting that Topuria is avoiding a difficult matchup while using his divorce as an excuse. Several comments questioned how Topuria could claim to need time away while still sparring, doing interviews, traveling, and appearing in public. Some fans argued that if he is capable of training and living normally, he should be able to defend his title. Others went further, accusing him of deliberately ducking elite contenders and prioritizing comfort over competition. On the other hand, many fans came to Topuria's defense, emphasizing that personal and family matters deserve privacy and respect. The supporters pointed out that dealing with a divorce while remaining in the public eye can be emotionally draining, even if someone appears composed on the surface. They argued that mental clarity is crucial at the championship level, and any major distraction could negatively impact performance and long-term health. The discussion intensified when one fan commented jokingly about both fighters looking for a wife, prompting Merab Dvalishvili to respond with a laughing emoji. While some saw the interaction as harmless humor, others used it as further ammunition to question the seriousness of Topuria's situation. Adding to the controversy, Topuria later shared another video of himself hitting pads where he appeared sharp and explosive. The clip only reignited the debate, with critics claiming it contradicted his need for time away, while supporters argued that staying active does not mean he is ready for a full fight camp. The situation has left fans divided, raising an ongoing question about whether Topuria is avoiding a challenging fight or simply taking the necessary time to address personal matters before returning at his best. New footage has surfaced showing Sean Strickland engaging in an intense sparring session with fellow UFC fighter Michel Pereira, and it has quickly caught the attention of the MMA community. The clip offers a rare behind-the-scenes look at two high-level athletes pushing the pace in the gym, showcasing both competitiveness and mutual respect. In the footage, Strickland is seen sparring aggressively, applying constant pressure and maintaining his signature forward-moving style. Known for his high-volume striking and relentless pace, Strickland appeared fully engaged, treating the session with the seriousness of a real fight. Pereira, on the other hand, matches the intensity with explosive movement, athleticism, and creativity, making the exchange both technical and physical. Observers noted that the sparring did not resemble a light or casual training session. Both fighters appeared committed to testing each other, trading shots, and working through realistic fight scenarios. The intensity of the session sparked discussion among fans, with some praising the competitive spirit while others questioned whether sparring at such a high level carries unnecessary risk outside of competition. During the clip, Strickland can be heard sharing his candid thoughts, particularly when discussing Brazilian fighters. In his usual blunt and unfiltered manner, he expressed admiration for their toughness and mentality. Strickland commented on how Brazilian fighters are known for their willingness to fight with heart and determination, often pushing themselves to extreme limits regardless of circumstances. While his language was colorful, the underlying message was one of respect for their resilience and fighting spirit. Strickland emphasized that this mentality is something he genuinely appreciates. He suggested that Brazilian fighters possess a unique mindset, one that drives them to give everything they have in the gym and inside the cage. According to Strickland, that relentless attitude is what makes training sessions with fighters like Pereira both challenging and valuable. Michel Pereira, known for his dynamic style and unpredictability, appeared unfazed by the intensity. He continued to engage confidently, demonstrating why he is considered one of the most athletic and entertaining fighters on the UFC roster. The sparring session highlighted the contrast between Strickland's heavy approach and Pereira's explosive, movement-based offense. Overall, the footage offers fans a compelling glimpse into the realities of elite-level MMA training. It underscores how top fighters sharpen their skills by testing themselves against equally dangerous opponents. While intense sparring always invites debate, moments like this also reveal the respect, toughness, and competitive drive that define fighters at the highest level of the sport.